Welcome back to the secret classroom, ladies and gentlemen. I am Eli Martyr. Thank you so much for joining me here on the FreeMelon Society. This is part 2 of a lecture that we did earlier on the difference between digestion and fermentation. Okay, now there's a big difference between the two. If you have not seen this lecture, then I suggest you go back, watch my digestion versus fermentation lecture, as this is going to be a quick add-on to the information that I gave you in that simple lecture. And you'll have to excuse me, I know I haven't been able to upload very much lately. Sometimes life gets in the way. I had computer problems that I had to deal with. Yada, 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 yada. But I'm here now, so let's get started. We covered a lot of ground in part 1, gave you the simple differences between the two. Fermentation is the process by which food is taken into the body and is worked upon by bacteria, yeasts, and fungus, producing alcohol, acids, and other waste products that are of no use to the body. Digestion is the process by which food is taken into the body and is worked upon by enzymatical action, producing further simplified food elements that may be absorbed into the body and converted into living tissue. The products of actual normal digestion are not harmful to the body, whereby the byproducts of fermentation are harmful and produce acids and alcohols and other sorts of acidic metabolic wastes that need to be eliminated. If the products of fermentation are not eliminated from the body and they continue to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate by years and years, or even months, or as little as weeks of eating stupid food, then you get problems when the body tries to expel those poisons through other emergency means besides evacuation from the bowels and the kidneys. Through the skin, through the eyes, through whatever it is, and then you get all these problems. Okay, today what we're going to do is we're going to take the understanding that we learned from the difference between digestion and fermentation and apply it to the almost comedically silly practice, this human practice of eating fermented food in an environment where we don't have to make that choice, where we have an abundance of food around us, where we can just literally snap our fingers and just have food right then and there at our beck and call. And even though we have the ability to make that choice in modern societies, we choose fermented foods. And hopefully this lecture shouldn't take very long to show you how silly a behavior that really is. One or two simple, logical understandings that if you grasp them, you'll see beyond this whole fermented product usage thing, whether it's kombucha or whether it's vinegars or alcohol or whatever, okay? Like we said earlier, the products of fermentation result in acidic byproducts, toxic byproducts to the body, self-generated byproducts of the body, by virtue of the process of fermentation, breaking down, organic material. Since fermentation results in those waste products that need to be eliminated and are, if not eliminated, cause problems in the body, disease and illness and the whole spectrum of maladies that we've observed in human populations. Since that is the case, I ask you, does it make sense to eat and put into the body the exact same waste products that your body tries to eliminate when it digests food that shouldn't be there in the first place? Now, if you can agree that that doesn't seem to make much logical sense, then you're well on your way to becoming healthier. Now, let's apply this understanding to other situations. Okay, so let's say I'm processing peanuts, for example, and step 1 in processing these peanuts is I need to de-shell them. So I run all these peanuts through a de-sheller, extracts the shells from the peanuts. Okay, the shells go one place and then the peanuts go another place. Now, if my goal is to sell you peanuts that have been de-hulled or de-shelled or whatever, does it make sense at any point in time to take all of the shells that have already been discarded, which I know are waste, and reintroduce them to the system in some previous step, thus adding to the bulk that I just have to eliminate again? Does that make sense? Would any peanut factory do this if the goal was to sell you unshelled peanuts? Of course, obviously not. When you eat fermented food, you are putting an additional burdensome tax on your body's energy system, and you're causing your body to expend tons more energy than it needs to because you are introducing into your system what your body wants to eliminate in the first place. This is the equivalent of buying a huge tank of CO2 and pumping your room full of CO2 so that you can breathe in the CO2 for the ostensible health benefits. But your body tries to breathe out CO2 into the atmosphere every single moment of your life. So why on earth would you try deliberately to reintroduce CO2 into your body if CO2 is a waste product to you? Do you see how easy this is to understand? Health is not complicated. It's brain dead simple. Brain dead simple. It's the world around you that wants to complicate the crap out of health. And sometimes it's frustrating to see people in professional individuals. We have our prized and all the whole food plant-based lecturers and researchers and authors out there, you know, all the ones that the popular ones that we love, that I love. I love to listen to all of them. All have amazing things to say. But it's amazing to me how absent-minded many of them can be when regarding certain aspects of natural human life and instincts. It's crazy. Okay, so how the hell did all this start? All right, history in a nutshell. Humans migrated all over the planet, living in all sorts of inhospitable climates that were not natural to human physiology. So we moved from the tropics to way north in Siberia, we moved to the east, we moved to the west, we moved into the temperate regions of the planet where we really weren't meant to be living. And when we go into an environment that is not suitable to us, what happens is we have to find emergency means of subsistence to live off of something, right? Because now the environment isn't producing our natural food because we made the mistake. And sometimes not necessarily a mistake, sometimes by necessity, war, famine, or whatever. So you have to think of an emergency means of survival and subsistence. And that has been the human game. For thousands of years, it doesn't matter how much time has passed or how old a practice is of emergency means of survival. So long as you live in that inhospitable environment, you're going to have to continue to think of emergency means of survival so that you can live. So fermented foods were a way of preserving food for a much, much longer period of time than would normally be available to a person in a natural setting. So lasting through winters, when armies are on the warpath, marching thousands of kilometers, you know, to go and raid or attack a colony or a settlement or whatnot. You need food that's available to you that isn't going to rot and spoil. So the ability to cook stuff got us onto the whole game of cooking dense grains and legumes and whatnot, things that you can't eat. But because you can cook them and completely pulverize and destroy them, yeah, okay, it's dead, inorganic, inert material now, but you can eat it and it's palatable. And so that's good because it keeps you alive. Fermented foods, same thing. Fermenting cabbage and fermenting this and fermenting that. Yeah, these preserve the foods, but this is backup. You know, backup plan, plan B, plan C, emergency survival, okay? And like is common in all of human history, life expectancies suck. Everyone died of sickness and illness and disease. Everybody. Just, man, I read tons of ancient history and modern history. There's a common thing where everybody dies early. Right? All throughout human history. Sickness, disease, illness, plague, and yeah, I know. There's tons of factors that have to do with, you know, sanitation and whatnot. Trust me, I understand. I know. But you cannot deny that faulty diet weakens the system enough that makes the body susceptible to unsanitary conditions, okay? Whenever the idea of fermented foods comes up, you can very easily and safely say emergency means of survival and what is natural to the species are two completely different things. Even animals in nature will eat emergency means of survival when they have to, right? When they don't have what is actual food, they will resort to plan B. Fermented food is plan B. But for most of you watching this video, if you have internet and are watching this video, you are not in survival mode. If the nations bomb the crap out of each other, and let's just say there's a nuclear winter, you know, there's nothing in the house and there's a rack full of beer and wine because it lasts, right? Well, do you conclude that beer and wine is good human food? Or is it just because that's all that's available, right? Yes, that's all that's available, so you eat it and maybe you survive. Or maybe not, maybe it kills you faster, to be honest. But you can drink it and get some sort of stimulation in your body. That's an emergency. Okay, so this kombucha thing. There's this thing going around the health community, this obsession with kombucha, whereby kombucha is just, oh, this magical health drink. It's so good for you, it's so wonderful. It gives you healthy gut bacteria. Yes. In order to make kombucha, what you need is you need to brew some tea. Okay, so you need to brew some sort of tea and add some sugar to it. And then in that brewed tea, what you do is then you take a huge mass of bacteria and yeast, a massive, disgusting colony of bacterial overgrowth, and you dump that fermenting, rotting bacterial overgrowth into your tea, and you allow it to sit and you allow it to rot for even longer. Okay, and when you allow this mixture of brewed tea and a bacterial overgrowth to rot even longer, then what you do is you take that fluid and then you drink it. This is what humans do. So for those of you who are new to this, that bacterial overgrowth that you put into a brewed tea, it's an acronym. It's called a scoby. Okay, a scoby is a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. Okay, if you've ever seen one of these things, they're absolutely disgusting to look at, all right? Now, if you've never seen one, I mean, here, look, I'll put some pictures of scobies up here for you. Look at these things. This is what goes into the kombucha that you're drinking. Rampant overgrowth of bacteria that are sitting in your kombucha. Now, it's fascinating. Whenever we talk about the health of our bodies, we always recognize immediately that any kind of, when you say bacteria, okay, when you say bacterial growth or yeast growth, and you relate it to the body, right away, we know, oh, no, bad, not healthy, not good, need to heal. So any kind of, if I told you I have a bacterial growth on my neck, or if I have a bacterial growth under my armpit, or I have a yeast infection, all right, in my genitals or in my colon or whatever, in my ear. How many people out there would say, oh, sick, that's cool, man. All right. You know, how many people out there would think that that's a good thing? Well, it's not a good thing, right? You don't want bacterial overgrowth or yeast overgrowth in your body, right? No, we all understand this innately. It doesn't matter where you are on planet Earth. All humans come with a disgust reflex, an innate understanding of what is disgusting or what is gross and what is not. Like, oh my god, look at this. That's disgusting. Does that look like food? Oh, come on. What about that? This is a natural, intuitive instinct, bar none. There are no exceptions to this. Okay, you can mind control these instincts and tailor them to a certain degree. Yes, I understand. But in any natural upbringing, you can't be a human without them. Nature has equipped you with this instinct so as to guide you to what are behaviors that are conducive to the proper unfoldment of life, and those behaviors that are to be avoided so that you know never to go near them, okay? So when as a human being you stumble upon a rotting raccoon carcass, for example, the smell, the look, the touch, the texture, consistencies, right, the colors, all of these things, they're interpreted by the human sense system electromagnetically, and it registers as disgusting, gross. That is not food. That is not meant for my body, right? This is a natural thing. If you didn't have that, you might be inclined to eat the rotting raccoon carcass that has flies and whatever all over it, okay? If I were to tell you, oh, I don't know, my wife is 6 years old, for example, that would inspire a moral disgust in you. That would be morally repulsive to you. Why? Because that's a natural instinct that nature gives you to, to understand that mating with underage partners is not conducive to any form of harmony or health or anything that is best for the species, right? So it equips you with this these different types of disgust that are meant to improve your lives and to keep you healthy and well and whatnot, okay? I'm just using that as an example to show you your own disgust instincts, right? So that you can use them and apply them to these silly cultural practices. So we know yeast and bacterial overgrowths and cultures and whatnot on the body are signs and symptoms of illness and disease. But we throw brightly colored labels on it and then we put it in bottles and we say, oh, this has been approved by the FDA, and we do all sorts of things to convince you that this is in fact a good thing. Then somehow our natural senses are overridden and we are fooled into believing that something is good food when it is really not. The fizz that you taste in kombucha is fermentation. It's the process of rotting, right? It is fermentation. And that CO2 that you're flooding your system with, well, again, you breathe out CO2 every single second. Your body always tries to eliminate CO2. So why on earth would you willfully drink CO2? If you're drinking watermelon kombucha, just eat the bloody watermelon. That looks like food? That's food. If you saw this lying on the ground somewhere, you would say, ooh, yum? Of course not. Look, yeah, where are our natural senses? Where did they go? Why do people think this is food? When you eat fermented food, you are inviting the death process into your body. That is what, like I said in the first video, fermentation is the process of death. Okay, it is the process of rotting and decay and decomposition. Okay, so when you eat fermented food, you put that into your body, and your body has to labor twice as hard to eliminate all the things that it would want to be eliminating in the first place. Okay. Tempeh. What's tempeh? Tempeh is fermented tofu. You don't want to eat fermented tofu because when things ferment, they rot and they're going bad. Basically, they're dying. But we disguise that with different flavors and whatnot so that we're fooled. And think of the amount of food that we would save, guys. The whole world of making alcohol and wine and vinegar, balsamic vinegars and whatnot. Oh my goodness. The amount of food that we waste, just throw away just to make things like vinegar. Holy smokes. If you've ever seen what it takes to make something like vinegar, for example, balsamic vinegar. Here's a video, for example. Look at the amount of grapes. Look at what they do with these grapes. And what's the first thing they do? They have to churn them up, okay? And then they heat them. They subject them to heat.
This is where it gets tricky. As soon as he extracts the must, airborne yeast starts to convert the sugars into alcohol. And he doesn't want his grape juice turning into wine. Davide needs to delay the fermentation process. So he fires up the hob to kill the yeast and concentrate the sugar.
Il mosto deve cuocere per circa 24 ore.
Oh, no. Holy smokes. Countless hours of heat to tons of grapes. You've just destroyed beautiful natural food for God knows how many people. All destroyed. And the process isn't even finished yet. It's heated and now it's dead. Great. Now you got dead grapes.
So next, he pours the cooked grape juice into this so-called mother barrel. It contains special acetic acid bacteria.
No. And then what do we do to that already dead heated material? Well, we add more acids and more poison into that material. And then what do? We allow it to rot for even longer.
The only way to achieve this is to mature the grape must for at least 12 years. 12 years.
Weeks, months, years. And once it's fully rotted, then we give it some flavors and we sell it. How many grapes have to die before you get a bottle of balsamic vinegar? It is a waste beyond waste. The grape is the food. The vinegar is the lie. All forms of vinegar, it doesn't matter what. Yes, I am generalizing this as a blanket statement to the world of vinegar. Nobody should eat vinegar. Oh, sorry, drink vinegar. Is a statement like that going to make me any friends in the health community? I mean, unfortunately not, but you know what? I can't be concerned with that. I'm gonna just tell you how it is, and you can do what you would like with that information. Okay, that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for joining me in the secret classroom here on the FreeMelon Society. Subscribe to the FreeMelon Society for more videos on unadulterated, simple, logical truth about health, wellness, human life, and whatnot. I try to give you the simplest to understand truths here on this channel. So subscribe to the FreeMelon Society, hit the bell notification so that you don't miss any other videos that I upload, and we will see you next time here on the secret classroom in the FreeMelon Society.